Hi, welcome back to ReelTV. I'm Alana Richardson.
And I'm Rachel Hine, and today we are going to be talking about Jane the Virgin, which is a new show. It started airing in the fall. It's currently on its 13th episode, and it's a really amazing show. The basic plot line is that Jane, who is a virgin, is accidentally artificially inseminated by the father of the baby's sister. So it's very complicated. But recently, they've been going into a lot of details about the relationship between Jane, the baby's father, and kind of all the different people in the show. And I think we wanted to start off by saying, if you've been tuning into this season, a big deal is Kaan Rostro, who is a huge drug dealer that's involved in the hotel of the father of the baby. His name's Raphael. There are a lot of different characters in the show.
Yes.
But what do you think about the whole Kaan Rostro reveal?
Okay, so Kaan Rostro ended up being, spoiler alert,
Yes, big
it's
spoiler
Rose.
Yeah.
It's Rose, and it's literally in the name, and it just caught me really by surprise because I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah.
So I felt
didn't
kind
either.
of,
I didn't either.
a little oblivious there.
Yeah.
Because we've been following it for like all
So
the
long.
episodes, so
Yeah.
I found that a little bit funny. But I think that was a really big reveal. I honestly expected it to be Raphael's father. I honestly pointed towards him so many times, and it just ended up not being him at all. So I think that was a really big shocker to me.
Yeah, I think that, and we should kind of explain for the people that don't watch, this is a telenovela, so there are a lot of different characters, and it's not just about Jane the Virgin, even though you would think that it is about Jane the Virgin. It's about the father of the baby, who Jane is currently in a relationship with, even though she was dating someone else named Michael, who she ended up breaking up with because she wanted to be with the father of the baby. So there's a lot going on with all the characters and all of that, and the show kind of plays on a lot of telenovelas, and it is a telenovela that makes fun of telenovelas, which I think that's really funny. And Rogelio is Jane's dad and is kind of the typical telenovela star who he wants everything done in his way.
Yes, he plays that character really, really well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. And I think that the plot line of him and Jane's mom is huge because they weren't together and now they're currently back together. But now that Jane's a grown woman and is having her own baby, her mom's trying not to make it too awkward for her.
Exactly.
So I think that's a huge part.
A lot of complex plots playing all into this one big plot. It's really interesting, so definitely grabs your attention.
Yeah, I think so too. And you said your favorite character is Petra, who we haven't talked about yet, right? Why don't you tell us about Petra?
Okay, so Petra is Raphael's ex-wife at the moment. They got a divorce. She's a little bit too much to handle, to say the least. They were recently divorced because she's been doing a lot of devious things, you can say. To say the least. For me, she's kind of my favorite character because she also was in another show. She played Olivia in Rain. And that was a really big show for me for a while. So seeing her play that character to this character, she plays a lot of the same types of characters. So I really enjoy seeing her act that out. So I think I really like that character.
Yeah, and I feel like she's a big contrast with Nadine, who we said we didn't like, because Jane's ex-boyfriend is currently with his partner working on this drug investigation, who I think that she does not have a part in the show. I think that she is just there for Michael to use because he's jealous of Jane, and like that whole entire thing.
I think she literally is just there as a prop for Michael to play with as like more things unravel. I really do think that.
And it's interesting because some people say, well, what does Petra have to do with this show? But I think Petra is so built in to the show. And I think her storyline is actually the fact that they go into that. I think that's a huge, huge thing.
From the very beginning, we can see that Petra was the one that was supposed to be inseminated.
Right.
Yeah, she was going to use Raphael's Raphael's sperm to inseminate herself, which was the plan, so that she can continue to be in his life, because we knew that the marriage was going nowhere if she wasn't, going to have his baby. So the fact that Jane now plays that role in Raphael's life, I think that's really hurtful for Petra. I really do.
I agree. Let's also talk about the narrator. I think we're leaving out of all the characters, my favorite one is actually the one that's not seen on screen.
Just his voice.
And if you know a telenovela, in the beginning, there's usually a narrator saying, well, on today's episode, this is what happens, and he makes it all dramatic. And I think the narrator, you said his name is Anthony, he does an amazing job, I think, explaining. Now, if you are we're on episode 13 of the show, and they're still explaining how Jane was accidentally artificially inseminated, which to us is like, well, why are you saying that again?
Exactly,
but if you're just tuning in, then they do like a great 2-minute recap of what happened. And I think he does. They definitely bring in the kind of like the telenovela part of it with that. And I'm curious to see, like, he's my favorite character, but we haven't actually seen him on the show
at all. I think Jane is also very comedic, but I do like Anthony Mendez, the narrator behind the show, because he brings in a lot of the comedy that you wouldn't typically get to hear had he not been recapping the show. So I think that was really important too. I think he plays a really integral part in the show. I do too. And I think we should talk about how Gina Rodriguez, who plays Jane, won a Golden Globe. Yes.
And everyone was like, oh, did you see her speech? And like the people that don't even watch the show were talking about how amazing her Golden Globe speech was. And I think that the way they kind of do the social media, the way they promote that show is huge. Like, I know I'm on Twitter every time because the writers of Jane the Virgin are tweeting about, oh, like, we chose this line because of and they're tweeting all during the episode. They have Jane the Virgin Writers is like one of their Twitter names, and like you could talk to them. Gina did her own Twitter, like her own Q&A session the last time, and I think that this show is kind of underratedly amazing, and once people discover it, it's like, oh wow, I should watch this show. I really think so.
Exactly. In a lot of reviews, she's been called a breakout star, and I really do think that's exactly what she is. Because honestly, I haven't heard of her until this show, and I'm like, why have I never heard of her? She's amazing. She's a very talented actress. I really do. I give her credit for that. I definitely do.
I do too, and I think if you get a chance, you guys should all watch Jane the Virgin.
Yes, definitely. I am obsessed.
Me
literally.
too. Me too. But yeah, actually, yes. But thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you so much.
And stick around because we have a lot coming up. Bye.
Welcome back to ReelTV. I'm Connor Smith.
I'm Rachel Sinnard.
And we're going to talk about Better Call Saul today, which premiered last Sunday.
And Monday.
After The Walking Dead, and then they aired a second episode on Monday. I have not seen the second episode yet, but she has, so we're going to talk. There will be spoilers, Better Call Saul. I might get spoiled myself. And Breaking Bad spoilers, just to give a little warning, because
everyone
obviously
should
it is
have
a
seen it
spinoff.
by now.
Yeah, come on. It's been over
a few
for
years.
Yeah, it's been over for a year. About a year. So what was your going into the series, what were you kind of looking for? Like, what were you hoping to see?
I was hoping it was going to be just like the same style as Breaking Bad, and I was really happy that it was for the most part. But like, I mean, I love Saul. He was like one of my favorite characters in general. And like the beginning of the first episode, they kind of like had it really like, I know they were like setting everything up and it was all slow and dramatic. And I got like really worried that it was going to be like really like melancholy sort of like, you know, like how serious, how like Walter's like all serious, Walter White and Breaking Bad's all serious. But like they did a really good job, at least in the second one, of picking it up to like the fun sort of level you're used to.
I think like Saul is one of those characters that he's funny as hell. You know what I mean? He will tear scenes apart. Just, you know, he's just hilarious. And I think that I was afraid that a little bit of him would go a long way, and I wasn't sure if going in he would sustain an entire series with him, because I feel like a lot of times that happens. Like, I know this is a completely random example, but like the Minions movie, the Penguins of Madagascar, stuff like that, where like characters that you love really can't sustain a whole runtime because they're great in small doses, and I was afraid that it would be the Saul show. But I think it was, at least the first episode was very thoughtful, and it was a lot of people thought it was slow, but obviously there's a lot of exposition stuff to set up. And can we just talk about the very first scene? Like, the way they begin this series is Saul
throwback to
working at Cinnabon as a manager. And it's a very bleak black and white sequence. And at the end of the day, he goes home after working at Cinnabon and watches tapes of him in his glory days. So I guess assuming that this is taking place after Breaking Bad is finished, and what happened after, you know, Walt.
Which is so terrible because, like, I mean, Saul's such a happy character and he's like so sad. Like in that first scene, I'm really hoping they'll like go into the future again and he can like reestablish himself again, because like, I mean, he's like a happy guy, and it's just so sad how it starts. But then you get into the rest of it, and it's upbeat, and so it's not like...
He's a happy guy, but he's kind of a con man. Like, he does have that... Like, best scene in the pilot, my favorite, was Slip and Jimmy, where Saul is convincing these skateboard kids about how to manipulate or how to get themselves in an accident in order to get the money from the person who hit them with the car. And I thought that,
It's really devious.
Yeah, Saul is very devious and he's manipulative and I just like how tongue-in-cheek he is when he speaks with other people. And yeah, I love him. I just think he's great.
And it comes up more in the second episode, but like you kind of see how he starts, because he's trying to be like a normal lawyer, how it starts out. He's like getting all these like public defending cases.
Works the crap cases.
But then like you see how like, not so much in the first episode because it's just setting up his background, but in the second one you see how it actually like what trouble he gets into pushes him into being like who he is for Breaking Bad, and you can start to see it like develop.
That's great.
And like, I mean, along with everything and his like his father and everything, like along with that.
I'm really curious about that.
What does he have? I don't
The father
understand
and
what
Saul.
he's sick.
I know. I'm like really curious how in depth they're gonna get with that. The first episode left me really curious about that.
Yeah, they never really even outright mentioned it was the father. They just kind of put the last name
at it.
like on a bunch of different things, and then they lived together. I guess that, but he never like he called him Chuck too, so it's not like even like. So I don't know why that's so ambiguous, but it's.
And I like the dynamic. I loved the scene where he couldn't park the car, and he's like, "You don't got your ticket." Mike is back.
Yeah.
Yay! I love Mike.
I love
Is
Mike.
he in the second one?
Oh yeah, but he does like basically the same thing. I think because he has a lot of background too. Like if you remember from Breaking Bad, because he like talks about like at least two things in his background, and and it's like how he like why he always makes one decision and then one about like his old partner, and so like. I'm really hoping they'll go into that a little bit, and like because they have kind of leeway to do it because they introduced him, but he hasn't done too much yet.
Initially,
okay.
I didn't really like Mike that much in Breaking Bad, but he grew on me so much, especially when after Gus Fring, after that whole thing in season 4, once it's the three of them, Jesse, Walt, and Mike, and I just loved that dynamic. And when they have the money, do you remember that, the scene where they're splitting the money and he's like, this is your money and that's your money, and then Walt's like, well no, this is my money. I just thought that who's in charge fighting for that control between Mike and Walt, and I just love Mike now, and I'm curious how the dynamic will change with Mike and Saul, because I don't want it to be like too sitcom-y, like Saul's the and then Mike's like the oh gosh, the grumpy curmudgeon,
Yeah, I know.
So, but how do you think the change of pace? I know there was you talked about the change of pace.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about the second episode and
Okay.
how it sort of vamped up? Because the first one ended with a fairly it wasn't exactly a twist, but it was a very like whoa, okay.
Yeah.
That's how you're gonna end it.
So the first episode was a lot about like Saul's background and such like that. But the second episode, it kind of like dives you into like the Breaking Bad world again, because they have like a situation and then they have to like work around it. And because he's not like Walter, he can't like come up with like magic chemicals that just
to
like
save the day.
Yeah.
I feel like he's all charm. He's all gonna get out with his mouth.
But it's really cool because he has this like, I don't know, like 10-minute scene where he's like trying to like talk his way out of things, and it's funny and it's like really like clever too. And it's like, I watched that scene like maybe 2 or 3 times, like, because it was just like the writing was excellent on it, and it just like, and he doesn't really get out of trouble the way Walter does, because Walter just like he blows everyone up, but he's like completely okay basically at the end. But like Saul's like not as like anti-hero-ish, so he can't get away with as much,
Yeah, like I think that Walt's intentions were somewhat malicious. I think like if someone wronged him, he would try and get him back.
Yeah.
I think that Saul is so wily. He almost like reminds me of like Wile E. Coyote from like he's gonna be in that like he always has to find different ways to get out of the situations, but it'll never.
His lawyer skills are really great, and at least the talking part.
But
it just works
the thing
well.
is he's not a good lawyer. Like that's the thing about the show, in that at least like with the public defense cases, even the one that he lost it. You know what I mean, with the 3 kids. At least like the way they showed it in that episode, I kind of got the impression that he's never really been a great lawyer, but obviously he was in Breaking Bad. I just kind of contradicted myself, but oh well. So what are you like looking forward to going into the third and like the rest of the episodes?
I'm not like expecting anything. I'm just kind of trusting that Gillian will I just trust whatever they do with it because it just works so
Everyone's
well.
back, all the creators
Yeah.
and writers and stuff. But that's it for us on ReelTV. Better Call Saul airs on Mondays.
Mondays at 10.
At 10 on AMC. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back.
Welcome to our new segment of ReelTV. My name is Gabe Cohen,
I'm Kaan Lejeviagi.
And I'm Eric Dowling.
and we got some great news stories to discuss. A lot of things going on in the box office with 50 Shades released this Valentine's Day weekend.
You know you saw it, or you're gonna see it sometime soon.
Very true. Well, 50 Shades dominated the international box office, globally just took over, brought in $240 million, and people
crazy.
came out to see it. And supposedly the first sex scene is 45 minutes in. I don't know what people are.
Like
It's
honestly,
just not for me.
That's what people kind of went for in my
exactly. It's like a more tame nymphomaniac almost is why people are
Yeah.
going for it. And I think just as a nation, we're just so repressed
Yeah.
Yeah,
sexually
true.
that like
So you like to see stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then again, the funny thing about 50 Shades is it's not done with this movie. They're coming out with 2 more, remembering back to the books, and not to mention, in addition to that, it's probably going to get a lot of critical acclaim to it too, because I mean, people, some of them like it, some of them don't like it. I know, like my parents went to it and they liked it. I don't know why they
And
liked
that's what
it.
people are attracted to. They
Yeah.
want to see something edgy, and this
Yeah.
is like the whole bondage
Yeah.
idea. It's edgy.
It's-
and
it's
that's what
taboo
people
and-
see.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
And as an specifically with American culture, we love to break that taboo and like
Exactly.
look into things apart from the taboo and the norm because we're kind of boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm personally probably not going to go see it.
No.
I'd rather see like Kingsman. That's more.
Oh,
about
that movie I
which
wanna see
looked
that
really
so
badass. I
badly.
gotta be honest.
And
It
like
does look pretty good.
Colin Firth is the man.
And
Samuel L. Jackson.
there's a movie that's out that like is not getting enough press. It's What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
It's Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords
okay.
is in it, and it's
great. He's
it's
funny.
like the real world but with vampires is how
Yes,
it's being
yes, you're
pitched.
right.
And like I really
I
want to
saw
see
the
it.
commercial for that. True.
I think it looks hilarious. But what else have we got going on?
Let's do a little discussion about a little Netflix, House of Cards. Recently,
Big topic.
Season 3 leaked for 20 minutes, and honestly, good press for House of Cards. Gets people talking about it as the third
As
season
we
is
are
about to
right
be
now.
released.
And
Yeah.
I think that, not to kind of make light of the Sony hacks, but I think that everyone kind of realized, maybe being hacked isn't necessarily a bad thing as long as
you have
personal
press.
information's not being
Yeah.
leaked or anything. Like, how many people heard about the interview after the leak as opposed to before it? Because like
So
that
true.
movie was.
If that movie was released how it was supposed to, normally it would have flopped. I really
Oh,
think it would have flopped.
absolutely.
But it just got so talked up. Everybody, I bought it for $6 because
Yeah,
I wanted
and,
to see it.
and like I know people that like don't like James Franco or Seth Rogen, especially their humor. Like, oh, I wanted to see that interview movie because of
it was
Korea.
so talked about. It
Yeah,
was front page of CNN. Like the president got involved. It was a big deal.
Are you guys possibly saying that we're going to see a lot more leaked stuff in the future?
I
feel
think
it's going to be a trend.
I think because like even Game of Thrones the season 5 trailer got leaked before like the actual trailer like was released.
So are they really leaking it, or is it some kind
It
of
might be-
publicity
it might
stunt?
be-
to make-
It's
get us
I
talking
think-
about it.
definitely
I
get
think
more
or
views?
or a combination of both. It's like
Everybody loves a good leak story.
Exactly, because like HBO could just be like, we didn't tell you, don't leak it, but at the same time, if it
Go ahead.
leaks,
Yeah.
we're not going to
It
be
helps
mad.
in the long run.
And then House of Cards, going back to that, that's actually going to be a crazy TV show. I heard the Russians are really getting involved with this, and that's going to be amazing. You're going to have your relationship battle between the Underwoods, and
Mr.
we
Arman
all
and
love
President.
Robin Wright Penn.
And
how she
honestly,
acts.
I don't think you have a better actor than Kevin Spacey.
Spacey's unreal. He's so talented, and just the accent. I love the accent.
Oh, I love the accent. I love how he breaks that fourth wall, talks to you.
and then he looks at you and
I
just
do
gives
like
you the
that.
smile or gives you the nod.
and
you're just
you,
like,
you just know that no one else is going to be as powerful as him.
yeah,
He's a very powerful actor, and that character just fits him perfectly, I think. Let's move on and discuss Marion Cotillard and Michael Fassbender. The Assassin's Creed video game is coming to the big screen,
Forefront.
all right? So there's going to be a movie about it, and starring Michael Fassbender. I think he's going to be great.
I think he's
I'm
going
a
to be
huge
great
fan.
too, but it's just if you look at the history of video games turned into movies,
Yeah, it's not
they
really
either
good.
get stuck in development limbo, like BioShock, or they get made and forgotten about and no one sees it. Because people that play video games, I'm just gonna generalize here. Fat, lazy people that just stay in their basements. Like they're not gonna really go out and see a movie, and if they're gonna do it illegally. Like they're
That's
not
so
gonna,
true.
They're
That
not
is
gonna
so
go
true.
out and see a movie, and like it's
They'll
gonna be a
find
I
a
wonder
way.
which
yeah.
Assassin's
Stay in
Creed
there.
they're gonna make too, because there's
I
like
think
a
it's off
bunch
the
of
first
games.
one. It's based off the first one.
And I think so,
the
too.
director, Justin Kurzel, this is not the first time Marion Cotillard is working with him. She is in a movie, Macbeth, the Shakespeare play. She's coming. That should be coming out later this year. And he also directed that, so she's working with him.
So they have some chemistry. At least
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah,
watch something.
absolutely.
And I think
flows.
Fassbender he's such a good
so
actor.
I can
talented.
see him
He's
in
so
that
talented.
role as well, because
Yeah,
like
he's stealthy.
yeah,
I don't
And,
know,
like,
he's slick. He's
you
real
get
slick.
that from
And like
him. Yeah.
this is really his first big action movie. Like I'm not really counting because like Magneto, like you're not really this action star. You're
I guess
kind of-
300 maybe he was in it.
He was in that.
He was-
but
yeah,
he
he was
wasn't
one of
like
the
the
characters,
He
too.
was in there.
You
And
don't
he was
really
in-
remember
and-
him from that.
And he was
though.
in Band of Brothers too, so he has the experience,
he
but
was.
it's just
He's
he's
been
never
around,
been in.
but no like big
Right.
action
Yeah.
movie.
He wasn't
Michael
the main
Fassbender.
guy,
He's
yeah.
the
Right.
assassin. Yeah. So I'm really excited for that. The Straight Outta Compton NWA movie trailer. Red Band trailer just came out. I believe it was this
Kendrick
week.
Lamar was in the trailer. Ice Cube was in the trailer.
I loved it. I loved how in the beginning of the trailer it's Dr. Dre and
Ice Cube
going
driving
around.
around
They can
Compton.
say what up to the game. So
And
I mean,
like
it's-
Kendrick
it's a
Lamar,
true
That's
story.
they stopped and they talked to Kendrick Lamar, and that was awesome because it's like old generation meets new generation
Absolutely.
Compton.
And the trailer, Paul Giamatti's in it playing his scummy white guy. What I don't even know what role he is. He's
I think
the
he's like their
movie- the
manager.
studio. Yeah, he's
and
in the
like
studio.
Ice Cube's son is playing Ice Cube, and just
It looks awesome.
It looks.
It's
I
gonna be
think
definitely something to
The
watch.
trailer pumps you up. It kind of like the whole Ferguson situation. It brings out
It's a
the
different
Rodney King
angle, yeah.
situation.
And, like, this is really the
riots.
first time we're seeing a nice portrayal of a biographical story. Like Notorious got hyped, but I think that movie
Yeah,
just
it wasn't that-
faltered.
yeah, it was bad
and I
like
think
that
that this movie has a lot of care put into it because I think this is really what Dre
It's a
and
touchy
Ice
subject
Cube.
also.
Yeah, and like knowing what NWA stands for, like you know that this is going to be very politically charged, and like
It's going to make a lot of points.
Dre and Ice Cube are so heavily involved in it.